What's going on, Boston Celtics fans? Welcome to Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Allie Barefoot, and I was taking a deep dive on the Celtics roster and how much money they're spending per player through the next couple of years. I've loved every single extension that Brad Stevens has done so far. Still waiting on possibly re-signing O'Shea Brissett, but I wouldn't expect many more moves from Brad Stevens. However, with such a big payroll, I'm going to look ahead to the 2024-25 regular season, and I want to talk about three players who have to have a good year, or they could possibly end up on the trade block to shed some salaries. But just in case, if you guys ever want the latest on Boston Celtics basketball, if they make a trade, we make a video. Go on ahead, hit that sub button for me right now if you guys have not already. We have 38,000 loyal subscribers here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I don't anticipate a trade happening anytime soon, but it all depends on how these three players perform this year. And I want you guys to be a part of it. All you have to do is subscribe. So just to preface, all right, I don't need anybody yelling at me saying they're not trading anybody. Why would you ever suggest they trade this person? I'm not suggesting that. But you have to look at how much money is going outward from the Boston Celtics. They're going to face penalties for being over the second tax apron. So looking ahead to this upcoming season, these three players need to have the same level of performance, if not better, than what they had this last year to help the Celtics win, or else I could see Brad Stevens making a couple of calls because they can't afford these players and they know they can get viable assets for them. So do not yell at me. We're talking about the future. And that does include Payton Pritchard. I love Payton Pritchard. I think he has become a very reliable two-way player coming off the bench. He's a part of the Stay Ready group. But from what I have seen so far from NBA Summer League, I've also really enjoyed Jaden Springer. Not to mention, Springer is also in the point guard depth for the Boston Celtics. You got Holiday, Pritchard, Derrick White, who's your starting shooting guard, so I would still put Springer at the third string right now, and then Davison, who's also a pretty good floor general as well. The reason why I think Payton Pritchard could end up being on the trade chopping block later down the road is just because they've got a long line of point guards here, and Payton Pritchard could be a very reliable backup point guard for any team in the NBA. Not to mention, it would shed about $7 million off of your total payroll for the Celtics and $8 million by 2027-28. So the reason why I bring up Payton Pritchard is because the way Jaden Springer has been playing, $6 million, $7 million, $7 million, $8 million, Springer's a lot less expensive than Pritchard is. But he had a phenomenal year, in my opinion, the best year he's ever had in his entire career, averaging almost 10 points per game, 3.5 assists. He shot 47% from the field and 38% from a three-point line. I think his three-point percentage went up because of his half-court shots, but nonetheless, he's coming off a baller year. Now he has to keep that up coming into this season, knowing the Celtics are trying to run it back. I could see Springer getting some minutes this season for the Boston Celtics as well. You know what you have with Jrue Holiday and Derrick White now. You know Pritchard kind of comes in that first rotation, but I could see Springer jumping up in training camp or even proving to Joe Mazzulla, hey, I can play both sides of the basketball too, which is why I think Payton Pritchard's light might dim just a little bit, only if Springer starts to shine. I will be honest though, I would not trade him just because of his half-court shots. They are electric. They are just unreal. And the fact that that was the largest crowd pop I had ever heard in the NBA Finals when he made the half-court shot is just awesome. PP can nail it from all the way downtown, which is super fun to watch moving forward. So Brad Stevens is ever like, maybe we should trade Payton Pritchard. I hope somebody out there says, but what about his half-court shots, though? But all seriousness, he wasn't much help in the finals. I know that half-court shot was the only shot he took and the only shot he made in the NBA Finals, which is a little tough. Not saying Springer is going to be that guy immediately either, but that's kind of a little unfortunate for your backup point guard. You got Jrue Holiday, you got Derrick White. When Pritchard comes in, yes, he does provide a lot on the defensive side as well, but maybe that could be something down the line that Brad Stevens looks at of, hey, Payton Pritchard, you're great in the regular season, but what did you do to help us get this chip, especially if they run back-to-back? So my first question for you guys here is, who do you think will be the first player traded from the Boston Celtics championship team. Obviously, they have 13 players who are running it back from last year. Out of the 15 who are on the team, Svi Mykhailiuk and O'Shea Brissett have yet to re-sign with the Celtics. So it looks like they could make a trade, probably not this year, but maybe next year. So who's going to be first? Well, could it be Sam Hauser? I'm going to go back to the bench here because I love Sam Hauser. The way that his catch and shoot ability has grown over the last year makes me realize that they really should keep Hauser around for a while. Not to mention, he locked up Luka Doncic. That's all I needed to know. Sam Hauser's defense is phenomenal. He gets extremely tight man-to-man defense. He can all switch back and do some zone. He's always left open for some god known reason in the corner on offense as well, but he did just get a pretty hefty contract extension in this offseason. So when you look at Sam Hauser, he's in the small forward depth, but he can also be in the shooting guard depth, more so in the third string of that realm, but second string in the shooting forward in the small forward depth chart. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Jaden Springer, and Jordan Walsh. Walsh wasn't giving me much in Summer League. I don't know how much he's going to have to provide for the Celtics this year. Springer, a little bit too small in my opinion for the small forward. You got Sam Hauser, 6'8", Jaylen Brown, 6'7", and Jason Tatum, who's 6'9". But Sam Hauser is a good player off the bench to give Brown or Tatum some rest. But let's talk about that contract extension. He'll make $2 million this upcoming year, which will be the last year before he starts making double-digit in the millions. 10 million, 10.8, 11.6, and then all the way down here, $12 million by 2028. And then by 2029, 2030, he'll be an unrestricted free agent. But like I said, Hauser's abilities speak for themselves. I would like to see a little bit more range when it comes to his offense. I would like to see a little bit more in the mid-range. We know he can drain it from anywhere downtown. We know he's not afraid to go down low to the post and put it up off the glass. But with what he does on defense, I do think if he can just make himself a 2-level or 3-level scorer, it's going to keep him around in Boston for a while. Why? Because the Celtics also drafted Baylor Scheierman, who has pretty identical skill sets as to Sam Hauser. We know he's got a great catch and shoot 3-ball. He also works down low. He's also great on defense. He rebounds. He assists like none other. So I'm wondering, did they draft Baylor Scheierman because they're noticing a future for Sam Hauser in Boston? And does that include not being in Boston? Teams are going to target Sam Hauser and his catch-and-shoot ability. Teams are going to want him in a trade deadline. So when I'm looking at his two-way skills here, I could see Brad Stevens, if Sam Hauser does not perform the same way this year, calling somebody saying, hey man, I'll make a trade with you, I'll give you Sam Hauser, and you could get some pretty good assets for a player like Sam Hauser at $10 million a year. But he showed the Celtics he's very valuable. Hence why Brad Stevens gave him the extension. But can he improve his game from last year? Can he give me a 3-level scoring threat? If he can, I think he'll be in Boston for a while. But what say you? Is Sam Hauser a Boston Celtic for life? Or could you see him eventually being traded away for more assets and to shed some salary? Coming up on the back half of this show, I got one more possible player that could be traded in the future, and I don't think you guys are going to like it. But I think you will like Gametime, which is actually the #1 way to go ahead and get yourself some tickets for sporting events, for concerts, for comedy shows. These are the best seats in the house, not to mention they're probably the cheapest as well. They have last-minute tickets. They have flash deals all the time telling you, hey, I highly suggest getting this seat for this price. It is the lowest price guaranteed. And you can see what you will be watching from your seats with their 3D view. If you guys want to go check out the Boston Red Sox right now in the dog days of August, go on ahead, get your tickets, hop on over to the Green Monster, go catch a ball game at Fenway, and use Gametime when you do it. I promise this is going to be the best price you're going to find, and it's super easy to use. You want to click on the Boston Red Sox homepage? Well, boom, you're going to get several games that you guys can go to right here at your fingertips. And they tell you immediately what's the lowest price right here for all of these upcoming games. New England Patriots games are also right around the corner. If you guys want to go to Foxborough, if you guys want to go to Gillette Stadium and watch the New England Patriots, I highly suggest using Gametime, downloading the app, creating an account, and using promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first ticket purchase while terms do apply. I want to talk about Kristaps Porzingis and how he could possibly be on the trade block in a couple of years for the Boston Celtics. It's tough. It's tough because Kristaps Porzingis actually has, other than Al Horford, the shortest contract with the starting five, starting six for the Boston Celtics. Al Horford obviously has one more year on his deal, which he will probably retire after that. But Porzingis is only guaranteed to be playing for Boston through 2026. Obviously, no extension this offseason because Kristaps Porzingis is hurt. He went through a successful surgery, but now he's going to miss the first 2 months of the season. So by 2026-27, he's bound to be a free agent. And when you look at the center depth, looking forward into the future, Horford's going to be retired, probably. Luke Cornett, Tillman, and Cato were all re-signed this past offseason. And then you have Kristaps Porzingis, who is so much better than probably this part of the depth chart in down. Al Horford, I do think Porzingis is better than Horford, but you got to love Horford. The reason why Porzingis may end up being traded is because of his injuries, which is really unfortunate because he has such great talents on the court, but he can't stay healthy. And just a couple of games come to my mind. In November, he missed 8 games because of a calf injury. Then comes the first round of the playoffs when Joe did so well trying to make sure he was not hurt. Gets hurt in the first round. He misses every other round in the playoffs after that, returns to the NBA Finals, and then suffers one of the rarest leg injuries in the entire universe. I mean, just take my heart out and throw it in the river. Now, he had surgery. It's a successful surgery, but he won't be ready until December. If he cannot stay healthy, Brad Stevens might trade him. It's unfortunate. I love Tingus Pingus. I love Kristaps Porzingis in Boston, but it may end up being a similar situation to Robert Williams. You love Robert Williams. I love Robert Williams. Philadelphia 76ers fan Chip loves Robert Williams, but he can't stay healthy, which is why he had to go. If Porzingis has a similar route to Robert Williams, I could see this being the end game for KP in Boston. And I do not want that to happen. But he's starting off on a bad foot, literally, because he had leg surgery. But he's already missing the first 2 months of the season, which means he's going to have to stay healthy for the rest of the year. He's going to have to, or else it's going to put a bad taste in Brad Stevens' mouth if he has not played more than 40 games in 2024-25. It's going to be tough to ask that of somebody who has an extensive injury history. So that's why Porzingis may end up being traded from the Boston Celtics. But healthy KP, God, I love him. He is a game changer. I have never had as much fun watching the Celtics than I did this past year, and that is credit to Kristaps Porzingis. So hopefully, we wish him well in his recovery. We hope to see him by December, latest in January, and then we hope we never have to sit him down for an injury again in this upcoming year, or else we may have to say goodbye to KP. But if anything happens, like I said, I promise I will let you guys know about it first and foremost. Go on ahead, hit that sub button on Celtics Today by Chat Sports.